All right, we are beginning the Tree Advisory Committee for February 8th, 2024 at 4:13. There's a little bit of delay because of the technology. So we'll call to order. Is there a motion to approve the minutes or any discussion about February 11th? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, minutes.
Aye.
Great. Minutes from January 11th have been approved. Appearances for non-agenda items.
All right. One second.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sue Easterday, 2731 Osmondson Road. I noticed in the Parks Commission agenda, or packet in here, you have the staff assignments. And looking through it, it called to mind for this committee that I don't always know what those people do in support of tree canopy or tree preservation. And I think they do a lot. Because Linda Brewer and I are on the sustainability committee, and I made some comments during one of the sections, and a staff person, I think I came across as sounding frustrating about the loss of trees when there are construction projects, etc. And the staff person replied, well, if you only knew how much we did to try to save or preserve trees. And I thought, after the fact, I guess I really don't know what they do. And so I'm wondering if it isn't too much trouble and it's not an immediate turnaround time of any sort, to find out from each committee or department things that they do, whether it's because of an ordinance or a state law or a federal law, things that they already do to support the tree canopy or environmental concerns that come across here. So that was just what I wanted to ask about.
That's a good point, because green tea and a lot of what we do goes into that report. And so you bring up a good point. I mean, there's lots of reasons to keep track of these sorts of things, and the fact that we're a green tier legacy community, you know, should kind of facilitate that even more than it is. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe over a couple of months as departments have a chance to let us know, or through you, let us know, we just become familiar with what's already happening. That's it, thanks.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda for today, and I just want to say that last time we had talked about resolutions R1718 and need more information about it, and we'll discuss that in the report from the department section on the agenda. Any questions or recommendations? All right. I move that we approve today's agenda as it is.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Today's agenda is approved. All right, so the first item is City of Fitchburg Committees, Commission, and Boards Staff Guide.
Yes. I don't know if you all had a chance to look at it. It basically tells us what we should be doing, which is good, I guess. The big change, I guess, the only two comments I'll make, the big change is just with how we're supposed to do minutes. It's what is done, not what is said.
But that's already what we do, isn't it?
Well, I think we've been actually fairly decent with it, but it's supposed to just be like motion, this motion, this second, motion carried or not, or the roll call results, that sort of thing, instead of like trying to do a synopsis of the discussion. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about
that
last meeting too.
that's the way. Sorry, I don't know when you can hear me.
We can
But that's the way it was done when I worked for the examining boards for the state. You just say the board discussed blah, blah, so-and-so moved, blah, blah, blah. And not, oh, Sue Feber said this or that. Just, like you said, a summary.
I think it's gonna turn it down. So,
I won't break anything, but if we can turn that volume down just a smidge.
We're just adjusting the volume a little bit here.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's one change, and the other change, or the other thing we just need to be aware of is we're supposed to do elections for the chair in odd numbered years. So we just need to keep up with that. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything to say about the staff guide?
I guess it seems like most of the things in the guide aren't action items that we need to do, but did I miss anything in there that requires action, or is it just a long-term change in the minutes and kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff?
I don't think so. I think it's just a guide, and I think part of it, and I think Sue experienced a lot of why this happened. I think part of it just was people on committees just didn't really understand how some of this worked, and so we had to put together a guide to clear it up. So it was fairly, I mean, I think everyone here is fairly, reasonable about it, but this is far across the city.
So maybe as we proceed, if we discuss something that we think won't be necessarily reflected according to these guidelines, we can discuss it.
Yeah, and what I should do, and I should have done this before, and I just didn't even think about it, is like for example, Parks Commission, other commissions, they have a communications line on their agenda so that they can talk about, like, for example, the resolution they can kind of talk about past business and, without getting themselves into trouble from an agenda standpoint. So I just never really thought about that, so that's one thing that I'll add to our agendas as one of probably the first item is communication.
Okay,
So we've got, so we know, so we can kind of revisit past business and, similar to what Park Commission does, which
So
I just,
that could include any topic, new
typically
ideas and so forth, as well as past.
typically it's listed like communication and then you list what you need to kind of.
Oh, specific
Oh,
items.
wonderful, yeah.
So,
But if there was something that when we approve the agenda, we could move to amend the agenda at that point?
and add to communication.
If we had like something that's not reflected, but obviously the goal is to get everything reflected. I'm just curious if there's.
Yeah.
So going back to my previous question then about this resolution and our city attorney's response to it, should that be a separate agenda item?
We can make it next time. That came through after I did the agenda.
Right. But I think a follow-up to Craig's question is we can't today add something to the agenda that's not here.
I don't think so. Otherwise we get in trouble with open meetings.
Right, is that what you meant, Craig?
Well, I guess if we're reviewing the agenda and discussing it and then voting on whether we approve the agenda, wouldn't that be appropriate at that point to add something to the agenda?
There has
What's
to
the-
have something that says, like, what she says, like communication, or, because if there's nothing on the agenda that would reflect that you guys are talking about something that's technically not on there, you can get in trouble.
With
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so if it fits under an umbrella category we already have, then we
Right.
can add.
Right,
Okay,
right.
so and it's a direct follow-up to what we talked about last week and plan to report on today. So can we include that then in the announcements or the report from?
I think we can talk about it in the report from
I think it fits in the
Okay.
report from department.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, good, good discussion.
And then next time we'll have it on the agenda.
So I think that the only, so correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that we can really do when we look at approving the agenda is the order, and that it is, that we do the agenda we have on the paper. We don't add new items or.
And I think you can say, hey, you can take things off, I think.
Yes.
You can take things off,
Yep.
you
But you
can't
can't
add.
add them, right?
So you can say, we're not gonna talk about IRA grants. We're just
Or
gonna
we're
vote.
postponing that, so you can take that off.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Good.
So,
Is there anything else, Shannon, that we should know with the new regulations, do you think? Because I bet you've already.
I think that's
Practicing
it, but
this.
I mean, that's all the stuff that, for us, we already, being council, that's clearly laid out because we have the Roberts rules or whatever, so that's a little bit more, they're very strict on those, so, which I think, like the committees, they're, you know, you guys don't have to be, you must not have gotten in as rigorous as we did.
We didn't get that training.
So, I mean, we get, like, every year you can get the training, like, for new people that come on, so, you know, I've been having it every year, so.
I think it's a really good idea. So did it already happen for this year?
No, so
Okay.
it'll happen again after the new,
Oh, okay.
the
Right.
new people get elected.
So if we want to participate in that.
I would ask Tracy and see,
Okay.
you know, because I think it's just a class that you
Right.
can go to, so I would assume that you guys could probably do it. I would ask Tracy knows.
This wasn't on the agenda, but thank you. No, well, I just,
No, it's
it
fine.
actually, it is.
It is,
It's already-
it absolutely is,
Mhm.
it's right there,
Okay.
yeah, it absolutely is.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Okay, if not, we'll go to the next item, which is Inflation Reduction Act grant opportunities.
Yay, I'm so
Yay.
excited about this. So I think I've been talking about this for since this was announced, which has been well over a year. And so,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, so yes, but so the feds announced we're gonna spend, we're gonna make a once in a lifetime investment in urban forestry, but for that money then to go to kind of move through the system and get to the point where we can apply for it has taken a long time. And so it's gonna be given out through the DNR, and there's a webinar tomorrow morning, which I will attend, on the nuts and bolts of what they're giving and why. I kind of gave you guys a synopsis, which I can't pull up, but I gave you the synopsis of what they'll fund, but it includes staff, which is new, and there's no match required, which is really very interesting. So, but it has to go to committees that are or communities that are in need.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, that is basically our healthy neighborhoods. So it's Belmar, North Fishhatchery Road, Southdale. I think that's kind of that kind of encompasses it, right? So I'm gonna watch the webinar tomorrow and see. But we can ask for more trees to plant. We could ask for a staff person or to pay a contractor to do tree maintenance there, which would be great.
That would be great,
Especially in Southdale.
yeah.
Maybe inventory the woodlot in Southdale Park, things of that nature. So I'm really, and I think it's a $50,000 grant we can apply for, which is, not an insignificant amount of money. So I'm really excited to watch this webinar tomorrow. The grants are due in June, and they'll be awarded in September. So, very exciting. So I guess stay tuned.
So we applied for that grant, right?
So we have not been able to. It wasn't open to us until it just opened recently. So they'll open they'll start accepting applications in June.
Oh, okay, and then we'll find out whether we got the grant in September,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I think it says application period opens at the end of February in your document that you sent.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
it doesn't appear to be open yet, so.
Yeah, as soon as it opens, kabammo, we're gonna apply. Because I think they're giving it out on a rolling basis, was my understanding. I'll find out tomorrow. But especially if they're giving it on a rolling basis, I'm gonna get an application in as soon as possible so we get as much out of it as we can. So anyway, I feel like it's very exciting. Definitely gonna go after that money, put a grant together, and then I have to, obviously move it through the city. So it'll go through the referral process, and then hopefully we'll be able to apply for the money. So anyway, that's a very exciting thing, and I feel like, we did the inventory last year. That really set us up to be able to apply for this money because we did inventory knowing this was coming. I had the inventory focus on those the quote unquote healthy neighborhoods. So they were inventoried in December of last year, so we know it's there. So we can very easily then say hey, and I think that'll make our application stronger. Hey, we did this inventory. We know it's there. We know we need X, Y, Z. So it's very exciting. Oh, great. Someone was able to bring this up.
Oh, I shared it on this. It's
Oh,
not
awesome.
coming up on the big screen, but anybody on the Zoom can see it.
Okay, awesome. Yes, so tomorrow at 9 to 10:30, I will be on the webinar and I will be listening to how to take advantage of this once in a lifetime opportunity. So, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah, it's an interesting, interesting opportunity. And I don't think this kind of funding will happen again anytime soon. So, so we'll see.
Definitely let us know, before the next meeting, or at least at the next meeting, if there's anything that the tree advisory committee should be thinking about or doing in regard to those, because I don't know that anybody on the committee is a grant writing expert, but we have Sue, at least I know, is a very good editor.
Yes.
So if it takes just like more people looking at it, or if we need to be doing any advocating from a committee, council kind of perspective, then definitely
Absolutely.
let us know.
Yeah, no, thank you, yeah, I appreciate that. And there may be letters of support, I don't know.
Just, and I'm sure you'll know a lot more at 10:30 tomorrow.
Yes, I will, so, which I'm kind of looking forward to. So, so that's kind of all I can say about that for now, because I don't have much more information other than we knew this was coming. I feel like we've really set ourselves up in a good position to take advantage of this, and I appreciate everyone, being as excited about it as I am.
Well, the foundation is there. As you said, the inventory is a very important part of that as well.
Yeah, it really is. And I feel like, too, we have been doing a lot in those neighborhoods, so it's not like we've been ignoring them. It's like every year since 2016, we've done something there.
Well, and I know that the maintenance of the new plantings is a huge budgetary hole.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you're thinking about that too. Makes
Yes.
sense.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see kind of how it's going to be framed and what they're interested in funding. And I mean, the list is eligible projects. The list of eligible projects is pretty, it's pretty extensive. And with the urban food forest, you hear a lot about, the only thing I'll say is you hear a lot about fruit trees, which I feel like we have a lot of. I would love to get more sugar maples. And I don't know if that's going to qualify for that or not, but we'll see.
You would like more,
Sugar maples.
I thought you didn't want more maples.
Well, that you bring up a good point. We have a ton of maples. We don't have very many sugar maples.
They are beautiful.
They're beautiful, and we have a lot of Freeman maples.
Are the sugar maples the ones that turn yellow,
Bright red.
bright red?
So anyway, so we'll see. I mean, you bring up a point. In our inventory, we do have maple we are overrepresented by maples. So anyway, so that's the story kind of with that. I don't have a whole lot to share. I did want to make you aware because it will come back once I get the application together, it will come back through the referral process probably. So it'll be before you and Park Commission at least one more time. So that's kind of all I've got for that agenda item.
Okay, thank you. I'm so appreciative of all the grants that you do on a regular basis to get assistance in a variety of ways and resources. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, of course, yes.
All right, next on the agenda is Arbor Day, 2024 Arbor Day tree planting
Yes.
plans.
Yes, so we're gonna do something here on, is that thunder? Oh,
The thunderstorm warning is put out.
At any rate, so we are gonna be doing an Arbor Day planting, so Arbor Day is April, I'm gonna bring it up on my phone so I do not mess this date up because I'm famous for saying the wrong date. So,
It's April 26th this year.
okay,
It was
awesome.
14th last year, wasn't it? Something around there?
Something like that. So at any rate, yes, thank you. It is April 26th. It's the last Friday in April. So that we're gonna raise the flag here. We're gonna plant a tree here on the campus. We're gonna try to get a group involved. We'll see. I'm still kind of working on that a little bit. And then the next day, which is the 27th, we're gonna be planting trees in Rose Common Park with volunteers from Sierra Club, from your neighborhood, from whomever. So that's very exciting. The other thing I just learned yesterday was 2 days ago, maybe it was, I applied for a grant from the energy folks. Was it from MG&E? Yes, right?
Was what?
The grant I just got, was that from MG&E? I forget.
I'm just gonna pull it up.
Anyway.
Alliant.
Alliant, thank you. I didn't want to say the wrong one in here, I said the wrong one. Anyway, so I believe it's from a line. Anyway, so they gave us $5,000 for tree planting, and it has to be in parks and it has to be by volunteers. So I may try to coordinate something for Arbor Day with that money as well. So we'll have to kind of see how that shakes out. And Sue, you were nice. Both Sue and Linda were nice enough to be put as volunteers on that grant, which is awesome. So thank you. So anyway, so I want to let everyone know that on that Friday, we will be planting a tree here with the mayor, raising the flag, and reading the proclamation. The proclamation happens at that Tuesday before at the council chambers. So if folks want to come for that, that would be great.
Okay.
And then on that Saturday event, if folks want to come to Rose Common Park, we're going to be planting trees with an emphasis on wildlife habitat because there's a volunteer there who does bluebird houses, right? But there isn't, as we know, you need to have the habitat, not just the house, but also the habitat. So we've been planting shrubs in that park. We're going to plant more shrubs, and we're going to plant some canopy trees that give us canopy and provide more wildlife habitat.
In Rose Common?
And Linda's nice enough
So
to.
people don't like it open? I thought people kind of liked it open, not so
Well,
much.
I think the neighborhood association was looking for ways to contribute to the city goal and canopy goals. And a lot of that park is on a hill, so it's not like it's an open field, for games to play.
It's almost terraced, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Chicory Meadows has a great sledding hill that is often used and enjoyed in all of our neighborhoods in that area. And so this will give like just a little grove of trees up across the sidewalk from the playground equipment, and then some more shade along the bottom edge of the park.
And and where it is kind of flat, we left that open for open play, where you could
Right.
potentially do that.
Right.
Even if there's a bit of a slant there, but that's the place where if you are going to come out there with a soccer ball or with a frisbee, that's probably where you would recreate. So we've left that open for the open space, and we're mostly putting trees where it's fairly steep. I don't want to say it's not that steep, but there's a grade there that you're not gonna play soccer or something like that in those areas. That's kind of where we're putting most of the trees. And the birdhouses, I think, are in line with that.
So even among the houses, a bluebird would come in?
I don't know.
I think of them as wanting like big fields with no trees.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have a bluebird that visits
Do you?
every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a resident wanted to put it up, and I said, sure. I mean, I didn't really want to say no. And the one thing I did tell her, to your point about bluebirds, you might not get a bluebird, you may or you may not. You might get a tree swallow, because tree swallows like those boxes. They are territorial and they'll keep other things away, but you might not get the species that you're looking for, but it's it's bird habitat.
So the other thing, I think, Terrell, is that we've had like or community events there before, like potlucks, and but there is not enough shade for people. There's one small shelter. So if we can get some more trees, you've planted some really nice one up on top of the ridge as well. So eventually we should get more tree cover, and then I think it's more functional for gatherings for the community as well.
And we're losing ash trees in that neighborhood, and I hate to say it, but it's true. I mean, there's the ash trees that exist in this city now mostly are in that area, and some of them look fine, and a lot of them don't. So, we've been nursing them along, but they have a shelf life, and so we really need to.
Are these the ones along the terrace?
Well, sometimes they're in the yard. I see them in the yards as well.
Yeah.
In the homeowners' yards.
But I think we have 7 ash trees in the terrace between that park and the neighborhood. And they're okay. I mean, we treat them every 2 years. They're okay. They're not awesome. They're not gonna last forever. It's just a fact. So we've taken out anything that's kind of questionable and replaced it, and we'll keep doing that. But it's just something to keep in mind that some of our canopy there is from ash that will disappear in in the short term probably. The other thing I just wanted to say is there's been talk of doing, so I don't know, I haven't worked this out yet, but in 2017 we planted an oak nursery in McGaw Park, and those trees do need to get transplanted. We were going to do it in 2020 for Earth Day / Arbor Day, but it got canceled because of COVID. and we never really got back to it. So there is talk of doing that this year as well. I do have a group that's interested. I have actually 2 groups that are interested to do it. So that may get added to the calendar. I need to kind of figure out the logistics of it and where we want to put those trees and how easy it's going to be to dig them. Because at this point, some of them are pretty big.
That's what I was wondering, with that many years,
Yeah, some of them are pretty big. So we'll see. And I don't know.
how close are they to each other?
They're pretty close. They were planted 8 feet apart. So they need to get, exactly. So they need it. We need to do something with them because they're planted way too close. And the whole idea was to put them in there for 3 years and then move them. Well, COVID sort of changed that. And yeah, and there was just not a whole lot we could do about it. So that's another thing that's in the works. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna work that out. I need to go out there and hand dig a tree and figure out how we can do it with a group of volunteers or not, or if it's something, and if it's feasible or not. So that's something that's also kind of in the works. But I just really want to make you guys aware that we are going to be here Arbor Day afternoon, planting a tree with the mayor, raising the flag, which I think is really awesome.
Is there a time for that?
No,
Okay,
not yet. We need to talk to the mayor.
yeah.
That's a good question.
That's a good idea.
All right, so I guess that's kind of the nuts and bolts of Arbor Day, and I don't know if anyone else has got any kind of thoughts or questions. The idea is to bring some little kids either here. We may end up having to plant them where they are because they may not be able to come this far. So we'll see. That's kind of the getting worked out. But you gotta love the little kids like planting the tree. So
I think you said it, but I maybe missed it. The Chicory Meadows and Darling Conservancy waiting on grant. What's the, like, when do we expect to know on the grant for sure, or is it just
that's what we got. That's the one we got.
So what's the time frame looking like on those?
So that's a really good question. So what happened was, and I kind of hate to admit this, I thought we didn't get the grant because they said they'd let us know by February 1. So I put those trees on our spring tree planting, some of them. So
You put them what?
I put it on the spring tree planting, which is up to bid. So I need to kind of rethink some things and then change So anyway, so I need to figure that out.
Okay.
So I think what I'd like to do is keep spring tree planting and do something in addition.
Okay.
So that's what I need to figure out. So anyway, so it's kind of like, so I kind of jumped the gun, I guess. I just wanted to get tree planting out to bid before all the trees were taken, and so we'll figure that out. Sue's just like, oh, good. so yet to be determined. And the thing with that is it's a little bit flexible. If we could do it in the fall if we had to. I would like to get it done this spring, so we'll see.
Okay.
But thank you for bringing that up. That's a good question in terms of time frame.
Do you want me to pull up more information about that, the grant you just received?
If you want to, sure. Yeah, I sent an email to you
I know you did.
and Sue. I should send it to maybe to everybody.
Yes, you did. I'm sorry, I should have had it up before. There it is. Okay. I hate the way this.
I know, it's a little.
Oh, it edits things out, everything that you want.
I know.
Okay. Takes out the letter, okay. Okay. Here it is. Okay, it's 1 million trees from a grant from Alliant Energy, Trees Forever. Congratulations, you've been selected for Wisconsin Alliant Energy Community Tree Program and 1 Million Trees Initiative Grant. Let's see, so what does it say? It's a grant of $5,000. Your project is one of 10, of only 10.
What is the subject, or what do you?
This is the grant we're talking about that she just received for, that's gonna be used for Chicory Meadows and Dolly Conservancy
Oh, okay.
for trees. So it's a $5,000 grant to purchase trees
Yeah.
for those sites.
And one thing I was thinking too, well, we'll see. I was gonna ask them, hey, do you mind if we put some trees in different parks as well? Which I don't think they'd really mind, since I expect that Dolly Conservancy and Chicory trees as part of spring tree planting. But we'll see that. So, but we will definitely spend $5,000 on volunteers planting trees in parks, no question.
So it looks like it's one of only 10 that were granted this in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So that's a really
Yeah, which I think is awesome. And a big part of, I think, the reason we got funded was you ladies were very nice to say, yes, we'll be in support of this, but there's a shrub component there, which is really important.
There's a what?
A shrub component,
Okay.
which is really important.
You've talked more about that recently, planting more shrubs.
Yeah, to kind of add that layer in, and that's part of what I think would be beneficial to birds, even within the, that's okay, even within the, urban service area, because shrubs really need that,
Right.
they need layers to the environment, so, they need the tree canopy, they also need, cover closer to the ground, for their foraging and things of that nature, and also just for habitat, not just for resting and things of that nature, but to produce caterpillars and things that they eat. So we're trying to kind of reintroduce native shrubs, to a variety of our parks, and I think that's part of the reason why they like this particular application. So
Sounds great.
yeah, so I was really grateful to get it.
Any other questions or discussion?
Where were you planning to plant those? Do you know?
Yeah, so in Chicory, they're gonna be partly along the path and partly in an area that volunteers cleared out. So that lends itself really well. The volunteers have been working really hard there. We actually got an award for that project, for the first phase of that project. I think it was 2 years ago, we got the International Society of Arboriculture's Green, Green Leaf Award or Green Golden Leaf? I'm messing this up. Anyway, we got an award from them for a great park beautification project, and then those volunteers have continued working, taking out honeysuckle mostly, some buckthorn, and reestablishing native species in there. And so we've been every year planting different trees and shrubs, native trees and shrubs in this area. They've expanded the area, so they need more trees and shrubs. So that will be one of the projects. And then in Dolly Conservancy, we've had a couple of volunteers in there taking out honeysuckle and buckthorn, and we do want to put some more native shrubs in for screening, basically for the neighbors. So, and also just kind of be a showcase, like, hey, if you do want screening, these are native plants that you can plant, just to kind of showcase what they look like and things of that nature. So if there's screening concerns, we have examples we can point to. Hey, if you want to know what native plants look like, you could look between, Dolly Conservancy and the neighbors and kind of see what we're advocating for. So that's kind of the big picture of it.
I think that's really powerful.
I hope so.
Culture too, yeah. Choices that are more sustainable.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. And then there's some big canopy trees in there too for chicory and for in Dolly where there's some holes where we lost some. Actually, black locust kind of fell apart and then we did lose a big cherry tree fell over and things of that nature. So anyway, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of that project.
Anything else on this topic? Okay. All right, thanks. All right, next on the agenda is report from the department.
So I did give you a written report of kind of what's going on since, and I have to, submit those quite a while before our meeting. Since I wrote that report, obviously we found out about the grant. Also just want to remind people that our mayor is getting an award at the Wisconsin Arborists Association Conference. I'm going to get that for her, I guess in 2 weeks, and I'll bring it back, and then in March, she's going to be presented with it here in the council chambers. So just keep that on your calendars. And the other thing just to be aware of is, I don't know, I talk about this all the time, and I'm sorry if I am completely monotonous with this, but, we're always looking at what trees are doing well with this weird weather we've been having. So, if you've got something that you've planted that has done well in winter warm spells or drought or whatever, feel free to let me know. I'm always trying to try new things, just to see kind of what we should be thinking about, what's next for, the kind of not traditional weather we've been having and probably will continue to have. So feel free to, I've tried a lot of different things. I'm always listening to what the university has to say about this and things like that. But really the best to know is like what people here in Fitchburg are doing. So if you do try a different tree or shrub and it does really well on your property or for a neighbor or whatever, feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to try some of those things. I have started doing a few different plants. Some have been successful, some have not been. So I'm always open to that, and I just always would love to hear from people in terms of what's working for them or not, or what, or that sort of thing. So I just wanted to put that out there.
A call for updates about odd weather affecting trees is really fitting on thunderstorms outside in the beginning of February.
I know, and
Strange.
yeah, and it just kind of goes to our maintenance, like, when that wet snow, we had that really wet snow, which isn't that abnormal, but it really makes pruning important, and we didn't lose that many trees to limb shear, which is really great. So so that's one positive thing, but like we just need to be on top of all this in order to manage it well. Change is what it is. You either manage it and it's progress, or you don't and it's crisis. So I'm trying to manage and be progressive instead of like reactive to things.
How does this thawing affect the trees?
I don't know. I think so. So I was thinking about this today, and as I was kind of trying to figure out what to do with this grant money, and I'm like, well, one good thing is this rain is washing salt out of the soil, so that's kind of good, because we did have quite a bit of salt when it was icy a couple of weeks ago. So I was like, well, that's positive. If it doesn't get really cold, maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. The issue will be if we end up getting like negative temperatures. And who knows? It's only February, so it's hard to say. I don't know. So, and yeah, here we are, it's raining.
Yeah, it is.
The nice thing is the ground is not frozen, so maybe it'll sink in.
Mm-hmm. It's melting slowly, well, so far.
Yeah, right, which is not bad, but. The other thing I was just gonna say too, that should have been in my report, I'm not sure that I included it, is I did get everything together for the intern for this summer, and I changed the PD to include updating our tree inventory at places that we didn't get to. So we didn't get to update the tree inventory in some of the areas outside the urban service area that do have trees that we maintain. So I updated the position description to include that. I also put something in there about really looking for someone that has GIS in terms of the tools that we use. So even if we don't get a tree person, if we get someone who's really interested in those particular GIS programs, that could really help us. So I just wanted to, I don't think I put that in my report, but I did do that. I changed that position description to include those two things, which I think will really help us move forward.
And the interns have really helped a lot.
They really have. They've been awesome. They have been absolutely awesome. The cheapest labor that we have gotten, and really very much value added. Anyway, so I don't know that I have a whole lot more to add.
I was wondering on we're on the report, right?
Yes.
The data that you started manipulating for Dolly Conservancy.
Yes.
I was curious what you found, or what you're
So
looking at, or what questions you have.
So I haven't looked at that closely, but interesting, there are some sugar maple in there, which I was surprised about. I didn't realize that. A lot of black locust and a lot of dead trees. So it's kind of what you would expect from an area that hasn't been managed, right? A lot of dead trees, a lot of trees in poor condition, a lot of black locust that more actually than I realized, which wasn't great. But some nice oak trees in there too. So so I think it needs further study when I've got time to kind of dig into it. But I'm grateful to have the information, and it's good to kind of know what's in there.
Yes. All right. So announcements, and I'm going to start with which maybe is more of a communication than an announcement, but it's follow up to what we discussed at our last tree advisory committee meeting. Our intention was to schedule an appointment with Valerie, our city attorney, to ask about resolution R1718, McGaw Park Natural Resources Management Plan. And what that resolution describes is putting a hold on work done in areas 2, 3, and 4 of McGaw Park. And that area actually at the time, which was 2018, represented 39% of the total park acreage. So the initial phase of this restoration and maintenance has been completed in areas 1 and 5, and this is left uncompleted, and we can't move forward and complete restoration or maintenance of this area. So we wanted to find out from Valerie what we needed to do, and how she responded was that it needs a new resolution to go before council. So, and typically these resolutions are written by a staff member or an alder or the mayor. So I have an appointment, and she passed on the questions to Mayor Aradafrada and said, and she'll get a hold of me. I have a meeting with her next week. Actually, Sue Easterday and I have a meeting with her next week. She and that was based on her invitation to meet with she's meeting with each of the chairs of the committees.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, if I don't hear from her before, then that would be an ideal time, I'm sure, for us to discuss this, about how to go about writing or encouraging a new resolution that would allow city staff, city staff volunteers, to do the needed maintenance and restoration in that area. So we know that, and we discussed that last time, that it is full of invasives, locust trees, and a variety of other things, which really prevents the desired trees from growing, does not allow the wood lot area to reproduce. So there's a huge need, and everything that we have for city planning and for the description of what the city forester's role job is includes best practice maintenance for these areas. So we're hoping as a committee to encourage the city and see how we can help in moving things forward.
Thank you for doing that.
One thing that I would think, it is definitely the mayor's discretion what she wants to support, but from a personal standpoint, I think a straight repeal of the last resolution, a resolution just to undo the last one rather than trying to resolve to make a new plan that goes through certain approval processes, would clear up future problems and prevent us from 5 years, 10 years down the road as a committee being like, okay, what do we do about this next resolution and how do we get past this road bump or hurdle that we inadvertently created this time. So that's not necessarily a requirement. Per the last resolution, we could just get approval from the council and Parks Commission to move forward with a plan and then keep the resolution that requires approval for future things. I think that sounds messy and still is an exception to how we manage trees everywhere else in the city, so it doesn't make sense. But that's just my 2 cents for
I like that idea.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, but obviously, the mayor will have to decide how she wants to approach that more than.
Okay. So you want to wait until we have that discussion with her, or do you want to follow up with another of that question also to Valerie? She did respond to the email.
Yeah, maybe I can.
And I copied you to the last response that she gave.
Yeah, I can suggest that before the meeting, just so that it's I think it would be cleaner that way for everybody, so.
That makes sense, because it sounds like an exception was made to this, a halt was put on the plans that are already written up and are in place. So removing it would.
Yeah, just take away the halt entirely, and then in the future, if there's a problem or something comes up, we don't have to go through this same process.
Well, you bring up a good point, because I think it's subjective in terms of what that means, because it's not, it says that we can't do management there, but what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, they want you to do some management there, but not,
Exactly, yeah.
not the management that certain people decide is inappropriate.
Well, and I think
it's a
between
strange way to do
the
it.
time this was done and now, there have been even more trees planted in the park.
Right.
So there and that, it sounds like maybe that was some of the questions that neighbors were asking, is that, we don't want just these open spaces, we want some vegetation, and so we want to keep this. So there have been more trees planted, so it makes a lot of sense, hopefully to the neighbors as well, to move ahead with this. and to the council.
So it's the neighbors who are kind of involved on it.
Back in like 2018,
That led them
when
to
the original
stop it, yeah.
resolution.
I know we discussed this a couple months ago. I just wanted to make sure that I was still
Right,
understanding
no,
it.
I think that's important, and I think for people who do tune into the meetings, you know, if we don't give any background, then they don't have a way of forming an informed opinion, so I think that's really good to clarify those things.
My guess is there will be quite a lot of discussion about this one before it's all said and done, so I no need to come to any final
And
conclusions here, it's just,
It's actually very helpful just to take a walk there and to look at it. To look at the places that have been restored and the area next to it. What is it, S. Johnson Park, which is right, adjoins it. And to see the work that the city staff and volunteers have done, it's really amazing. And you can just briefly describe that more, but the vegetation, the prairie grasses and the trees and it's really amazing.
I mean, so Area 5 is SC Johnson Park or Stand 5, and that area was completely run over by honeysuckle, and we were able to get in there and do a forestry mow, which took care of a lot of the smaller diameter stems, and then the staff, the public works staff did get in there, took down a lot of hazard trees, and took down a lot of, box elders that were hanging over, and some of the bigger invasives and things of that nature, and then we hired, I'm gonna screw it up. We hired a contractor to grind all that and leave the chips there, so that was kind of like a mulch that kept invasives from coming back up, and that gave us a chance to kind of get, continue to do management there. And like Sue was nice enough, she grew a lot of plants that we planted in there, which is awesome, so thank you. And then we did a fair bit of seeding in there, and we've gotten a lot of plant donations. We have bought some plants, and it actually looks fairly decent. That was the nice thing about McGaw Park, is that soil is pretty good. It was never a Roundup Ready situation because it became a park before row crop was managed with chemicals. So once you take the invasives off and you add some management, you do start getting really nice and natives popping back up. The soil is decent, the seed bank is there, it's just a matter of managing for that. So, and S.C. Johnson is a great example of that. We need to keep on, and we're actually getting some oak regeneration there too. We need to keep on managing that, but yeah, so you can see kind of what it looks like, which in 2018 that had not happened, so.
And my understanding is even like walking through that area that is really such a mess now. I mean, it's that there have been some safety issues with trees falling or possibly, and it's not.
We've had to go in there and remove some trees that were falling on the neighbor's property, things of that nature. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. Other announcements? Okay. I think we may be done. Actually, I don't know if I have a date for our next meeting in front of me.
It is. Let's see here. March. I gotta read my calendar. Especially in this building. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Jeez, what do I do here? It's March 7th, I believe. Or no, it's March 14th. I
March
cannot-
14th, okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's March 14th. I'm sorry, I cannot read. March 14th is our next meeting.
Okay, so that will be our next meeting. And then, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Aye.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming.
I will
Thank
too.
you. Thank you for